Somewhere in the rubble of 3115 Chase Street, the truth got buried under a layer of ash and silence. It took 10 days for the city of Toledo to realize that two boys, 15-year-old Kaishan Pittman and 16-year-old Kamarion Wilder, weren't just missing. They were gone.
And for 2 years, the story we were told was one of closure. 11 people were charged. Life sentences were handed down. But as we sit here in early 2024, the foundation of that closed case is beginning to crumble. New court filings, handwritten recantations, and reports of suppressed evidence suggest that, while people are behind bars, the full story of what happened to Kaishan Pittman might still be out there, waiting to be unearthed.
Let's go back to the beginning. December 3rd, 2022. It starts at a birthday party at Maumee Bay Lodge. Kaishan is 15. He's with his friend, Kamarion. They're just kids being kids until they're asked to leave because someone sees a gun. They call a ride. They get into a silver SUV, and that is the last time their families see them alive.
We've spent weeks going through the public records and the timeline provided by 11 Investigates. The boys were dropped off at a house on Maumee Avenue. What was supposed to be a night of video games turned into a nightmare. They were lured there by Corbin Gingrich and Carissa Eames. Why? Because of a stolen gun, a piece of metal.
The details from the trial testimony are harrowing, Jamie. The boys were taken to a basement. They were bound with HDMI cables. They were beaten and pistol whipped. The records describe a scene of escalating chaos where Kaishan allegedly tried to defend himself, but he was outnumbered. Eventually, they were moved.
They were moved to a vacant house on Chase Street. On December 5th, that house went up in flames. For 10 days, as the family searched the streets and passed out flyers, Kaishan and Kamarion were lying under the debris. It wasn't until a confidential informant spoke up on December 15th that the search finally ended in the worst possible way.
But here is where the verified facts start to conflict with the official narrative. In May of 2024, a jury found Brent Kohlhofer and Charles Walker guilty of the murders. They were sentenced to life. But fast forward to the most recent developments from late 2025 and early this year.
This is the intensive part of the investigation. Corbin Gingrich, the man who lured them to the house, the man whose testimony helped put Kohlhofer and Walker away, has sent a handwritten letter from his cell. He's recanting everything.
He claims he lied on the stand. In the letter, Gingrich says he was under immense pressure from investigators and prosecutors. He now claims that the people he saw in that alley on December 3rd weren't Kohlhofer and Walker. He says he saw two men in ski masks. He says he agreed to the official story just to avoid a life sentence himself.
And he's not the only one. Just a few months ago, in September 2025, Walker and Kohlhofer filed massive post-conviction petitions. They're alleging serious constitutional violations. They're pointing to an excluded text message from another witness, Don Eames, which implied the boys might have died back at the Maumee Avenue house, not at the location the prosecution claimed.
There's also the matter of the gender reveal party. Public records show a party was happening at the Maumee Avenue home the day the boys vanished. A woman who was reportedly there when the boys were allegedly marched outside was never interviewed by the original team.
It's a nuanced, painful reality. You have the families of Kaishan and Kamarion who have already buried their children, thinking the killers were caught. And now they have to watch as the legal system re-examines the very people they were told were responsible.
We looked into the appellate judge's statements from July 2025. The judge noted that the theory of masked men abducting the boys actually appeared in early statements, but was largely ignored during the trial. If the key witnesses are recanting and the timeline is being challenged by new evidence, where does that leave Kaishan?
It leaves him in the middle of a legal tug-of-war. The Lucas County Prosecutor's Office is expected to respond to these new petitions any day now. But for the community in Toledo, the wound has been reopened.
Kaishan Pittman was 15. He deserved a life beyond that basement on Maumee Avenue. He deserved an investigation that was airtight. As journalists, our job isn't to say who is guilty or innocent. That's for the courts. But our job is to point out when the records don't align.
And right now, the records are screaming. Between the recantations and the allegations of prosecutorial misconduct, the closure of 2024 feels like a distant memory.
We'll be following the court's decision on whether to grant a new trial or an evidentiary hearing. Until then, the story of Kaishan Pittman remains a haunting reminder of how easily the truth can be lost in the smoke.